it's looking like Alyssa Thomas and the Phoenix Mercury are going to be fined because she just said nah. She just said nah. And I'm sorry, like, you can't have all the smoke. You cannot be there chirping with fans the whole game. You cannot be allegedly telling fans DeWanna chose to join a real basketball team. You cannot be saying stuff like that and then hide.
Alyssa Thomas believed she could ignore her required media appearances, yell at Indiana Fever supporters, and leave the court after losing without facing any repercussions. False. She and the Phoenix Mercury will soon face fines from the WNBA for violating league regulations. Additionally, the karma is ideal.
And it looked like Alyssa Thomas will be getting fined for doing this in Indianapolis. Guys, for this one here.
Do you believe that Alyssa Thomas should have been penalized for failing to appear in the media after losing due to a fever? Alyssa Thomas just discovered the hard way that decisions have repercussions. In all honesty, it's time. Despite a season-best effort from forward Alyssa Thomas, the Phoenix Mercury lost 7-1-0-1 to the Indiana Fever in a fiercely contested matchup at Gainbridge Fieldhouse on Wednesday night. However, her outstanding performance is not the subject of this tale. Everyone is talking about what transpired after the game.
So Alyssa Thomas had all the smoke for the Fever fans. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, it wasn't just like just normal smoke. It wasn't just normal beef. It was what people from the country would call Dublin. She had the big smoke. Like, she absolutely had all the beef for. She, let the fans hear it, all of this stuff. Satu there, telling the fans to keep up the booze. And what did they do? They lost.
Let's examine Thomas's specific situation and the reasons behind the league's current sentence. Thomas led all scorers and recorded her first 30-point performance of the year with 32 points, 15 rebounds, and 7 assists in 34 minutes of play. She also made 63.6% of her field goals. Even though she had a fantastic game, her team still lost. That must be painful. This is where things start to become very interesting, though. However, what is currently in the news are Thomas's post-game activities. Following the final horn, fans observed that Thomas was missing from her required media availability as per the WNBA's media access policy for the 2025 season. She simply vanished. Poof. Lost. As if she never existed.
And how a player in a professional sport can ever think that someone who left a team and left the team in a lurch, like DeWanna Bonner left the Indiana Fever in a time of adversity when multiple players were injured, they had to sign hardship contracts, and instead of saying, hey, this isn't working out, after 9 games, mind you, did not give it much time, 9 games was it, that's all she played with the Indiana Fever, asking for a trade and not traveling with your team after asking for something to be worked out, and then, not only that, pretty much forcing your way onto the Phoenix Mercury, which is a title contending team and a team with her life partner on it. It just sounds very like I can get what I want when I want and it doesn't matter what happens. And yes, I can see a fan base being quite upset with this. I mean, LeBron, when he left Cleveland, people were burning his jerseys. People were booing him every time he was back in Cleveland.
Fans have responded to this cowardly conduct with utter brutality, and with good reason. Thursday saw the emergence of a Reddit thread criticizing the absence and predicting that the Mercury and Thomas would be fined for violating league regulations. When it comes to pointing out unethical behavior, the internet is merciless, and Thomas just provided them with all the weapons they required.
That not the she cause, not the necessarily DeWanna cause for herself. Like the booing and everything, DeWanna brought that in herself. Let's be completely real. Even Nate Tibbetts was just like, well, yeah, this is sports. Like, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but like their coach was even like, well, yeah, this is sports. This is sports. And like Alyssa Thomas not showing up. It's the most Alyssa Thomas thing ever, isn't it? Talk a big game, and then when anyone does anything negative towards you, let's just dodge. It is the most Alyssa Thomas thing ever. Like, we've seen it with some.
Let's now discuss the background that adds to how pitiful this entire situation is. Dana Bonner returned to Indianapolis for this game after she had stopped playing earlier in the season. Additionally, It was Thomas's fiancée Dana Bonner's first game since Indiana waved her off on June 25th. Because her lover was being jeered by the supporters she left, Thomas was already emotionally immersed in this game.
Foul on Sophie Cunningham. That is her first team second. Coming in for Phoenix number 14, Bonner.
When Bonner arrived at Wednesday's game, the team's supporters jeered her. Additionally, Thomas engaged in derogatory remarks with Indiana supporters.
Let me be clear about this.
Despite having her best individual performance, Thomas spent the game yelling trash to fans, saw her team lose, and then chose to flee rather than deal with the media like a pro. Her fleeing act is made even more cowardly by the visual proof of Thomas interacting with supporters during the game. Alyssa Thomas and a spectator got into a violent argument with just under 2 minutes remaining in the first quarter, and the Mercury comfortably leading 25-13. When her team was winning, she felt completely at ease engaging in verbal altercations. However, she abruptly vanished when it came time to answer inquiries about the loss. Thomas determined she was above the WNBA's very explicit media availability guidelines. The WNBA's 2025 season media access rule states that no later than 10 minutes following the final buzzer, each head coach and 2 players, the team's top scorer and a vital contributor, must be accessible to in-person and Zoom media. This is a necessity, not a recommendation. Thomas did not come out of the locker room on Wednesday, while Copper and Mercury coach Nate Tibbetts did attend the clubhouse press conference. Thus, her carriage arrived. Her teammate arrived. However, the team's top scorer and alleged season captain are nowhere to be seen. That's not being a leader. Cowardice is what that is. The league also takes these infractions seriously. There is minimal leeway in league procedure, and teams run the risk of facing increasing sanctions for repeated violations. The WNBA has made it clear that players who believe they can avoid media availability will be penalized financially. The fans' reactions have made the entire thing much more embarrassing. Many responded to the news and voiced their opinions about X. Are you telling me that after playing an exceptionally strong game and yelling at the fans, you didn't have enough respect for the league and the game to speak to the media? She is being severely criticized by her admirers for her lack of professionalism.
All right, first of all, if you know or follow sports in like the slightest, you don't even have to be a fanatic to understand boos come with the territory. I have never seen a season without boos. Every time I go to a New York Liberty game and the Indiana Fever play, Sophie Cunningham just steps on the court or gets announced or anything, it's met with boos from the crowd. For whatever reason, and I'm not saying I agree with it, but it's never something that I thought to write about. It's never something that I thought to post to social media. It's not something that I ever thought to make a video about because I know.
The fan response encapsulates the absurdity of the entire circumstance, due to the fact that her girlfriend was jeered for leaving. Alyssa Thomas is criticized by WNBA fans for avoiding the media following Dana Bonner's stern welcome. This boils down to precisely that. The fact that her lover received the reception she deserved for leaving a team was too much for Thomas to bear. She so made the decision to act out and neglect her work commitments. This style of behavior, nor is this limited to a single instance. Thomas has a history of making contentious remarks and arguing with fans. Do you recall her remarks regarding Indiana Fever supporters from last year's playoffs? This moment of unprofessional behavior has been brewing for some time. When you take into account Thomas's prior remarks regarding player unity and professionalism, the absurdity of her actions becomes even more obvious. As players, I believe we stick together as a league, Thomas stated. We trust Angel Reese when she says she heard it. I think she's real. The fans have told me a lot of things. It's about basketball, in my opinion, and I believe that people have pushed it too far. She talks about the league sticking together, yet when things don't work out for her, she breaks her professional commitments. There is a clear difference between Thomas's actions and the ways in which other athletes deal with hardship. Caitlin Clark responds professionally while being fouled hard or confronted by hostile audiences while still fulfilling her media responsibilities. They still turn up and take questions even when other elite players have poor performances or difficult defeats. Thomas determined that she was unique and exempt from the same regulations as the rest of the group. The fact that Thomas really performed well in this game just serves to highlight how pitiful this is. On 63.3% shooting, Thomas recorded game highs of 32 points, 15 rebounds, and 7 assists. Despite the defeat, she ought to have been pleased with her own performance and made advantage of the media to emphasize how well she performed. Rather, she made a horrible choice because she let her feelings to rule her. The social media fan response has been ruthless, and Thomas is deserving of everything the criticism she is receiving. Supporters are calling out the hypocrisy of making disparaging remarks during the game, but escaping when the consequences are certain. A seasoned leader wouldn't act in that way. That is the conduct of someone who is able to give but not receive. Additionally, the Phoenix Mercury organization should be criticized for permitting this to occur. Regardless of the result of the game, they ought to have ensured that their star player was aware of her responsibilities and ready to fulfill them. There is a lack of organizational responsibility shown in Thomas's capacity to just vanish without the team ensuring she met her media needs. The WNBA's double standard is further highlighted by this instance. Caitlin Clark would have faced severe consequences from the league if she had disregarded the requirement to be available to the media. However, there's a belief that she'll get away with it because Thomas meets some categories and has previously criticized fan behavior. I hope the league corrects that and takes this infraction seriously. This situation's educational component is also crucial. It is imperative that young athletes and league viewers understand that professional conduct is expected at all times. It conveys the incorrect message about what is appropriate in professional sports when seasoned athletes like Thomas neglect their responsibilities. It is the league's duty to uphold its regulations consistently. Another level of intrigue is added to this scenario by the timing of the Mercury's next games. When the buzzer sounds the next time, everyone will be watching to see how the WNBA punishes Thomas